So in this video, we're going to talk about how to stop chasing, because you might be thinking, okay, I know I need to stop chasing this person. I know the dynamic that it's creating, but I don't know how to stop. So in this video, I actually want to give you some more information about why you're doing it, because once you understand the psychology and understand yourself a bit better, then you can actually make decisions from a more informed place. And this information has absolutely changed my life, because historically I've always been the chaser. I was always the chaser, doing all the fixing, the figuring it out, the explaining, the people pleasing, all of that to try to get something to work for me. So in this video, I want to explain why that happens and how we ended up being that way. And then this information is going to inspire you to choose a different response so that you can break a pattern and an energy that you've always lived with, and therefore has created these difficult dynamics where you feel like you're always in lack, always longing, always got that anxious, oh, something's not right type of energy. So before I get into this video, I would like to let you know that my Conscious Creators Masters Academy has now opened up for enrolment, which is my 12-week program, my most transformative program that I do. And I have such a special place in my heart for this program. It's always such a beautiful space for people to grow, heal, connect. And where we are broken in relationship, we also heal in relationship. And this is what this program is all about. It's about being seen, being heard, being validated. And the experience of sharing and being with a group of people that you get to know very, very well over these 12 weeks is so humbling, so human, and so healing. So if you'd like any more information about this program, you can find all the information in the link below, or you can book in a free 30-minute discovery call with me to find out if this program is right for you. Okay, so let's think about this chasing energy. So that horrible feeling of, oh, something's wrong. They're going away and I don't understand this dynamic. I need to fix it. I need to explain myself. I need them to understand something so that this can work, so that I'm safe, right? That is such a common place to find yourself in. When we grow up, we are primed to look for safety, approval, and to know that we're safe and loved and wanted, right? So it's like we have this already always actively looking for, am I safe, am I loved, am I wanted? And we need that because we need that attachment and that approval and that being seen to know that we're safe in this world where we're so vulnerable when we're young. So we're always looking for, am I safe, am I loved, am I wanted? I see it all the time with my son, who is 1. Whenever he does anything, he turns around to look at me to see if I have noticed, to see if I can acknowledge him, to see if he's being seen. And it's really enlightening to watch it, because I see how vulnerable we all were when we were young. So we're looking for this, am I safe, am I loved, am I wanted? But where we didn't have that sense of safety, because maybe our parents were busy, they were working a lot, maybe there was someone who was absent, maybe there was a lot of arguments, maybe there was just something that made it so that we were on our own in some way, we created behavioral adaptations to cope with this feeling of not feeling safe. Okay, so you might be able to reflect on your childhood or what might have been happening at the time. You might never know, but there might have been something potentially happening at the time which would have given you this feeling of, I'm not safe. They're not looking at me, or they're too busy, they're arguing, no one's here for me, or that feeling of just not feeling quite right. There's that anxiousness that for me it was like loneliness. I think looking back, I must have felt a feeling of loneliness because there was some emotional unavailability, and then there was arguments and things like this. So I didn't feel safe in my nervous system. So we create these behavioral adaptations like becoming the nice girl or the nice guy, or being the funny one, or or we become people pleasers, or we become the fixers, or we become the carers, right? These are really common responses to that anxious energy that needs to be seen, and so does something in order to get that approval, and it works. So when we're young, the adults go, oh, that's so lovely of you, how kind of you, and they give you this validation. Or you might have done the opposite, where you might have retreated and become quite introverted and quite shy or whatever. But either way, there's a coping mechanism that's created that later we identify with. This is why you always hear people saying, I'm a people pleaser, or I'm such a fixer, or I'm a carer, just a really caring person. This is what I always do. I've always done this. And they identify with that behavior that was actually maybe a coping mechanism to deal with that loneliness or that feeling of isolation or not being seen or not feeling safe. And so what happens is we do that all throughout our life, and it gets us a reward. And we like that. We like being known as the one who is like overly, compassionate and caring, and the nice girl or the nice guy or whatever, because we have this positive reinforcement coming back from it. So in many situations it works. But then there comes a point where it doesn't work. It doesn't get us what we want. It doesn't get us that need that we are seeking, because we've matched with someone who is also distant. They've got their own coping mechanisms which might oppose ours. And what this does is it shines a light on the coping mechanism, the function that's happening, the operating system. You see, being a people pleaser, being a chaser, being a fixer, being the one to fix everything, heal everything, understand everyone, all of that is an operating system that worked at some point in your life and has worked in many situations. But it's not necessarily you. There is, can you sit here and find you? Can you find you? It's really hard to do, but we identify with behaviors in order to feel a sense of self. And when these coping mechanisms or the operating system doesn't work, we go, I'm not safe. My operating system is not working. Yeah. And so it kind of goes, oh, what do I do? Now I don't feel safe, so I've got to do it more. I've got to do the thing I've always done more, because historically that's always worked. If I ask more questions, if I explain, maybe I have to explain more. Maybe I need to make myself even clearer. That's why you write these long text messages. That's why you try to explain to someone why they feel the way they feel. That's why you analyze them, because you're trying to make sense of it so that you feel a sense of control, so that you can have that empathy that has met that need that you've had all your life. This is the water. You're the fish. This is the water. The operating system that I'm talking about here is the water that you've always lived in. It's not necessarily you. Just like the avoidant identifies with, I'm not good with relationships, or I'm not good with talking about my emotions, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. You think with them, that's not them, that's just their coping mechanism. And equally, it's the same for you, right? We're not our coping mechanisms, but we have identified with them. And so part of the learning to not chase is being able to see, oh, I'm being compelled to do that chasing thing because of this dysregulated nervous system that's telling me that I'm not safe, which is based on a lie. Okay, it's a lie that was created from an insecure feeling in childhood that is no longer relevant, because now as an adult, you are safe and your value on this earth was there the day, the moment that you were conceived, the minute you showed up on the planet. You are inherently valuable, and there is nothing that you need to do to prove it. But unfortunately, because of the human condition, and we need our parents, we need our caregivers in order to survive, in order to internalize that I am safe, I am loved, I am wanted. Yeah, and when we don't get that feedback, we don't internalize I'm safe, I'm loved, I'm wanted. So we seek it from out there, you see. So that's how we become chasing. We go into this kind of chasing anxious energy, which is simply just a dysregulated nervous system that doesn't feel safe. In other words, it's a habit, a behavioral habit based on a feeling that if you don't do something to get love, to get approval, to be seen, that you will not feel safe. And essentially, back in the day, that would have made you feel like you wouldn't have survived. But now you can survive. You don't need to chase to feel that you can actually find safety within yourself. And often we've put our safety so much out there that we end up perpetuating that cycle of needing to do those things because, like, this is the operating system that's working. This is your blind spot. And hopefully by watching this video, you're able to see, oh my God, my blind spot has been that I think that that is me. But actually, it's just an operating system that has been trying to protect me all this time. But in reality, I am actually safe and don't need this person in order to know that. Also, I don't need this person in order to know that now I can see the facts that I showed up on the earth, and therefore I'm worthy. And I don't need to prove it. So when you come at relationships, from I'm worthy, I'm good enough, and I've internalized that I'm worthy and I'm good enough. And often this is what happens to secure people, is that they're surrounded by that love, that approval, that validation, that I'm here and I'm not leaving, or I go away and I always come back, right? And they internalize I'm safe, I'm loved, and I'm wanted. And therefore they go at relationships from the energy of not needing to try to get anything, but from just showing up as their authentic selves. And therefore they can judge if this other person is right for them with a clear vision. But where we don't have that internalized, we try to get it from out there, which never works. So we end up always chasing, because as long as we're doing that, we're always going to be doing that. So what we need to do is to be able to see that all of that was a faulty system, a habitual pattern of behavior that was created long ago before you were even conscious of what you were doing. And these behavioral adaptations are not you. So you might be thinking, well, who the hell am I then? Yeah, exactly. We don't know. This is part of the awakening process. You question everything, so it's like, am I a people pleaser? Or is that just something I learned to do in order to survive? Am I the nice girl? I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Am I really that funny? It's a big question mark over all of the ways that you've been operating. And this can feel really, really overwhelming, okay? It can feel like, oh God, I don't know who I am. But the benefit in going, oh God, I don't know who I am, is that you get to create who you want to be. You get to set standards for yourself with better boundaries. You get to come at relationships from the knowing of I am worthy, I'm good enough, I'm whole and complete. But this takes practice, and it actually really does take an embodiment of this knowing, which means that when you actually look at this situation, you can see, oh, wow, I have lived my whole life thinking that I need to prove something, thinking that I need to try to be seen, thinking that I need to do something to be loved, when all I ever really wanted to do was just be and be loved. And so now you can give yourself that. Now you get to come at relationships from, I'm not going to perpetuate this belief by keeping on doing things that prove to my nervous system that I'm not safe. So at first, your nervous system will go, what? Why aren't you chasing? Why aren't you explaining? You've got to do something. And you get those urges to text. You get those urges to double text. You get the urge to explain. Oh, I've got this intuition that I need to go and explain one more thing. I've got this inspired action feeling that I need to just say this one more thing, express this feeling one more time, make it a little bit clearer. Send another email, whatever it is that you're being nudged to doing, I would ask you to question it, because is it coming from inspired action, or is it coming from the status quo, the norm, your pattern, that has kept you in that energy of trying and doing? So I just wanted to show you the difference, and I might have done this in another video, but can we just sit with the difference of that? Let's just notice that energy of I've got to do something, I'm losing something. Can you sit with that for a minute and notice that it actually feels like dysregulation and not feeling safe. So just notice where you feel it in your body. I feel it here when I bring that up. I feel that in my chest. But you might feel it in your stomach or in your throat. But just notice that energy of that chasing energy. And notice how it's just dysregulation. That's all. And then if you contrast it to the energy of just being, I don't need to do anything. Right now, I'm enough without proving it to anybody. And there might be a bit of resistance to that. You might not believe it because you haven't believed it your whole life. So why would you believe it just from watching Corrie T tell you that it's true? But if you sit with that energy, there's nothing I need to do to prove myself. There's nothing I need to do to get love. Imagine what would open up for you and how different your relationships would be if you went into relationships with that energy, with that knowing. How differently would you show up? What would you tolerate? What would you not tolerate? How would you be being? This is how you manifest, by the way, for all the people who want manifestation videos. This is how you manifest massive change in your life. The embodiment of knowing that you are enough and that you don't need to do anything to prove it, and that you owe it to yourself and to your younger self to live that way now. Okay? So this is a massive, huge shift that changed my life. It just gave me this massive inspiration to go, oh my God, I don't want to do another single thing to chase. I don't want to prove myself. I don't want to explain myself. I don't want to try and get them to understand. I don't want to, because I know that I am enough. Essentially what happens is this anxious avoidant dance exposes the operating systems that both have been living in, that have been preventing them from actually experiencing the closeness and connection that they've both wanted. So you've got to start with you and do the thing that feels completely counterintuitive, because your nervous system will feel like it's very counterintuitive, and that's okay, because it's part of the process to healing and actually being with that experience so that you can soothe it yourself. And this is self-regulation, which is so important in this process, and it will change your life when it comes to relationships, and this is how you end up being more secure. So I hope you found this video useful. If you'd like any more information about what I do, you can find out all the links to everything I do in the description below. Thanks for being here, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.